Hi everyone, Kelly here. Welcome to another episode of the Author's Mic. So, we are wrapping up the month of April. This month, we talked about what it really means to step into the indie author space. And so, before we move into May, I want to go back through what we talked about because every week this month gave us a question that I think every author that is either in this space or thinking about entering this space should ask themselves, right? So, the first week we talked about the decision, right? And not the decision just to write the book, but the whole I'm going to publish my book, I'm going to share it, I'm going to let people read it, and then people are going to respond. And so the key takeaway is why? Why do you want to put the book out into the world, right? Only you can answer that. Is it legacy? Is it healing, storytelling? Is it business? Is it impact? Because if you don't know why you're doing it, then, your journey will start, looking really unbalanced and probably feel a little uncomfortable. So you got to know why, right? That was the first week. Then the second week, we talked about defining your lane, right? And so we talked about that being an independent author can look very, very different depending on who you are and what it is that you're trying to build. And we had talked about that some people are writers and some people are entrepreneurs, authorpreneurs, right? Some people want to teach, speak, coach, consult, publish others. There are people like me who realize that, you want to build an entire ecosystem, right? But the takeaway was you need to know what lane you're actually building in. Because if you can't define your lane, then you're going to probably find yourself chasing things that probably were never meant for you. So you have to know your lane, right? So that was your lane. And then three was the reality, right? And I think week three was probably the most honest week that you have to have with yourself because we talked about what this journey asks of you. And let me tell you something, y'all. The indie author journey asks a lot, right? It asks your time, it wants your money, it wants your energy, it wants your capacity, your visibility, burnout, disappointment, scams, false promises. All these things are in this industry, right? And the reality that every opportunity is not your opportunity, right? You got to learn that. Every room's not your room, every platform's not your platform. And so the key takeaway from that week was you have to be honest about what the journey actually requires from you, right? Because once you understand the reality, you can stop pretending that you have unlimited time, unlimited energy, and unlimited capacity, right? So that was week three, the reality. And the key takeaway was be honest about what the path is going to cost you. Time, money, energy, all of those things, right? So week four, um, we talked about uh commitment. And that was something that I honestly did not think about when I published my first book. I didn't really think about commitment. I thought about writing the book. I spent a lot of time just writing my book. So that was the commitment I was focused on, getting the book done. Then I was committed to publishing the book, right? Let me get it out there. What platform? Get it formatted, edited, all that good stuff. And then I thought about sharing the book and how am I going to do that? Right. But I didn't think about the commitment in the fact that I didn't think about how long I was actually going to stand and stay with the work. How long was I going to talk about these books, right? How long was I going to build around it? How much of my life's journey would this actually take up, right? How much of my life would this journey actually take up, is what I'm trying to say. Like, how much time was I really going to put into this? I didn't really think about that. And then that made me even ask a bigger question is what kind of commitment am I actually making? Right? Was this a one book experience for you? Is this a hobby? Is this a side lane? Is this a long-term body of work? Is this a part of a business? Is this your career? Right? So the takeaway from that week is what you have to decide what kind of commitment you are willing to make. Because if you don't define that for yourself, I think you will keep frustrating yourself by expecting one kind of result completely different from the level of commitment that you're giving. So I think that you have to really, really define what commitment looks for you. And so that was week 4, commitment. And the takeaway was be honest about how far you're willing to go with this, because I don't think anybody thinks about that at the beginning of the journey. How long are you going to stay and really stay with that book, right? And so here we are. We talked about decision, we talked about defining your lane, we talked about the reality, and we talked about commitment. And so now the question becomes, what do you do with all this? Now that you've heard all of this information, right? And now that you've asked yourself all of these questions, and now that you've started thinking more honestly about what the indie author journey really means, what are you supposed to do now? And honestly, I think this is a part that a lot of us miss. We hear great information, right? Um, and we nod our head and we say yes and we get it, but then to keep actually moving without stopping long enough to process any of it, I think that's what we do. So I think that we hear all this information, but I don't think we actually give ourselves time to process it so we can actually implement it. And that's where we need to pause. And I mean really pause, right? I mean really take a moment and really define like what this journey means to you. And when I say define, I mean sit down, right? Sit down either in front of your computer. If you're like me, you're old school. I love pen and paper, right? And I have done this myself. And that's why I'm telling you to do it, because I really think it will help, right? So this is going to be a defining moment. This is the moment in your journey where you sit down with yourself and you write down these questions, right? You ready? Let's write them down. Number 1, why am I doing this? Like, why am I here? Like, what is the deal? Why am I here? What lane am I building in? What is the reality of this path for me? What kind of commitment am I actually willing to make? I'm going to say them one more time. Why am I doing this? And be honest. What lane am I building in? And again, honesty, y'all. What is the reality of this path for me? And what kind of commitment am I actually willing to make? Because I really believe if you do not take the time to ask yourself these questions, that you are doing yourself a disservice before you do any marketing, before you do any promotion, before you start trying to be everywhere and do everything. You need to actually understand what this journey looks like for you, not the internet, not for other authors, not for people selling you courses and selling you services and selling you strategies, but for you. You need to sit with the reality, the time, the commitment, the energy, the capacity, all of it. And then after you've done that, you should be able to tell yourself exactly what this indie author journey looks like for you and how you're going to show up, because that matters. What matters to you, right? What lane are you building in? What are you not doing, right? It's okay. What are you not doing? What are you doing? What pace makes sense for you in your life? What kind of commitment are you willing to make? That's where the real work starts. Because the hardest part of anything we learn is not in hearing it, right? It's not in the theory. It's not in taking in all the information, right? It's taking in all the information and then actually doing something with it. And so I want this month to be that for you. I don't want you to just listen. I don't want you to just shake your head and nod and agree, but I want you to honestly sit down, write these questions down, and then define what your journey looks like before you start running in a direction that doesn't fit your life or your goals or your capacity, right? So if you've been with me this month, I want to encourage you to go back and listen to the other episodes if you need to again. So remember, week 1, we talked about the decision. Week 2, we talked about defining your lane. Week 3, we talked about the reality. Week 4, we talked about the commitment. And then we sit down and we do the work of answering all of these questions for ourselves. And once you do that, I think you're going to have a much clearer picture of what your indie author journey actually is. And that matters because you can't build anything solid on confusion. You can only build from clarity. And clarity starts with being honest with yourself, right? All right, y'all. So let me give you my laundry list of things before I let you go. First of all, TrustBridge is my curated service. If you're interested in TrustBridge, if that is a lane for you, if you're interested in gaining visibility, go to TrustBridge Author Services on my website, learn all about it, and see if it's the lane for you. If you are an author and you are a creative in this space, you'd like to come on the author's mic, go to my website, go to a Be a Guest tab, go hit Be a Guest, boom, you're a guest. It's that easy. If you are on your author journey, I have a free guide on my website. It's called So You Want to Write a Book. It's free. Go get it. Start your journey. It's got some great info. If you are interested in supporting me as an author, I've got 2 books out there. Wait for it and You Sound White. I will sign them. I've got some free goodies. I'll ship them at no charge. But you know what? It's up to you, y'all. Do you. I understand. And then lastly, Bright-Headed Publishing, we have a book club. It's called the IRS, the Indie Reader Society. I would love to have you join us as a reader. My goal for 2026 is to grow the book club as big and robust as I can get it so that when we do pick up your book, we make a huge impact on the readership of that book. And if you're an author, you can pitch us. If you go to my website, go to the tab that says more, you'll see where it says pitch a book, pitch us as an author, and then you'll see where you can join as a reader. All right, y'all. This has been another episode of The Author's Mic. I really hope you enjoyed the series for the month of April. We talked about what it really means to step into the indie author space. Like, what does that mean for you? Right? I mean, the decision, defining your lane, the reality, the commitment, and then sitting down and then doing the work, asking yourself those tough questions, getting real clarity, and then really finding out what that journey looks like for you. All right, y'all. I will catch you next Wednesday. Go out and make it a great day. Bye.